Thanks for tuning in. Got a couple of things to sort of talk through today. As always, sort of Magento related. This is a Magento fan channel as much as it is a sort of a dev channel, and obviously with sort of the recent sort of news in the UK, or particularly in the UK with regards to sort of, you know, cost of living crisis, energy crisis, whatever you want to call it, and also the fact that we're very, very likely to go into a recession this winter and into next year. I just wanted to sort of talk about what that might mean for, you know, Magento developers, you know, the people that are providing the service to, you know, develop these applications, these sites, and maintain these sites, and also what it might mean for the types of businesses that are on Magento, and how we're going to sell Magento over the next sort of few months and possibly even years. And I'm speaking from sort of relative experience in that I ran a Magento agency for around 10 years, and I started it in the last massive financial crisis. Obviously, that's not to say that everyone's situation is identical, but there was some learnings from that, I think, or at least some experience that I took on from that, which is going to stand me in at least enough stead to be able to talk about it and probably advise on what or predict, if you like, what may or what might happen. One of the things that happens usually, to say from the perspective of a client, you know, from the perspective of a client and an agency relationship, or a client and a freelancer even relationship, is that you know, budgets get cut. Oh, by the way, I am going to get into the code in a bit. I am going to get into the code. I don't want to make you feel as if it's just going to be me talking at you. It's not. But I just wanted to say this. I was in the office yesterday, and I was sort of thinking, you know, is this appropriate for a live stream? And I think it is. One of the main things that happens is, you know, clients tighten their belts essentially, and one of the first things to go is their marketing budget. And what does that mean really for Magento developers? Well, I think that we're in quite a safe place if our narrative as an agency, or our narrative as a freelancer, or as a developer, remains with the fact that Magento is a piece of software that requires maintenance, and it's a piece of IT software as well. It's not something frivolous that you could sort of mothball for a while, or stop upgrading, or stop patching, or stop maintaining, particularly from a DevOps perspective. Whereas marketing budgets, you know, the campaign side of things, those things can stop, or budgets can be cut on those, and particularly, you know, clients who are sort of in high risk industries, you know, things that are going to be directly hit by, you know, a financial crisis essentially, or a recession. They're probably going to cut back, they're going to trim the fat on those types of things. But what we've got to do as developers and as people advising these businesses is to say, look, you're not going to be cutting your IT budget. Magento and the service that we provide as agencies and developers is, we are providing a core service to your business, and we've got to convince, or keep convincing clients that that's the case. And how do you do that? Well, it's not a case of sort of barraging in there and sort of saying you will continue to pay us and you will continue to use our service. It's not quite as simple as that, because obviously you are in a competitive market. We all are in a competitive market. You know, there's a lot of Magento developers out there. There's a lot of Magento agencies out there, all performing sort of different levels of service, if you like. So it's not only a thing that's happens in a recession, is that clients hop from one agency to another. Particularly with Magento being open source, you can move around quite frequently. But how do you provide value to a client isn't necessarily going to change within a recession. All that's going to change is the sort of, or possibly, or what could change, what would be dangerous, is if a client starts thinking that they can cut budgets, or cut or trim expenditure on actually keeping the lights on in terms of Magento and keeping it secure too much. because they might want to quit a little bit. And that's where we can help as agency people or as developers, is that we can probably start to try, if you like, and provide more value for money, because essentially they're paying for our time, so it's an hourly rate equation, isn't it? You know, what a Magento developer quotes that they can do within 4 hours can vary massively on the individual. It can vary massively on the type of agency they're working. It can vary massively on the type of site that they're maintaining. And I think one of the key word there is transparency. I think we have to be more transparent about what we're doing, more transparent with the client, more transparent with our teams about, you know, it's not necessarily working harder either. This isn't the thing. It's really trying to explain what our value is, and just reiterating what our value is as the people who are experienced in being able to work on this platform. And it's almost like you go back to the thing of, you know, if you're a Magento developer, you're not right all the time. I don't profess to be correct all the time and absolutely correct in every situation, but I'm the best bet. You know, as a person who's experienced of 12 years in software and particularly Magento, I'm your best hope. You know, so it's about being honest and about being transparent with that, I think. So I would say, like, it's a thing where the client needs to understand that it's part of an IT budget. That's got to be reiterated, I think, and almost feel, and it's not like a blunt object to go hit them with. It's a thing, look, can we work together? Because, you know, the recession is going to affect agencies as well, you know, and the energy crisis is going to affect agencies. It's going to affect you know, we're all on a level playing field in terms of the hardship that's possibly going to come. I'm not trying to predict that, you know, bad things here, but you know, it's predicted that we are going to go into recession. So if we are, it's going to hit us. Also, can we work together with clients for us to be able to keep that client as an agency and say, look, we're going to give you more value for money in these ways. We're gonna strive in these ways, and then in the back end of that agency, you've got the developers and you've got the team leaders working out how they can be more efficient and maybe coming up with basically innovation. That's what you want, isn't it? You want innovation to be able to innovative ideas to be able to maximize your productivity. All developers feel great when they're productive, right? So I think it's as much about doing that and working with your clients. And also, I think on the flip side of that, and you know, on the flip side, so one side is I think Magento developers are probably going to be all right, if you like. There's still going to be work for us. Is on the flip side of that is, in my experience anyway, the types of businesses that have Magento sites, I think, are probably more exposed to the recession than maybe your Shopify clients who, you know, sell sort of dropship or sell things that are not necessarily massive warehouse operations, because the majority of my Magento clients are massive warehouse operations, and they chose Magento because of that. And big warehouses take a lot of energy, take a lot of staff, and it's a it's a harder ship to sink, but it's also a difficult ship to keep afloat when you know, seas get stormy. And I think I'll leave it on that fantastic analogy and move on to more interesting things for Magento developers, which is what we are all here for. So,